This is a short film to review what I've encountered so far as I put this together. And I've been putting together the construction drawings as I go. And so at first I talked to Brandon last week because I thought we were going to be in trouble with this impervious area coverage. And I've made the calculations now and they're all here. It looks to me like you're going to be gaining 412 square feet in impervious area, which is good. You could gain as much as 625 before we have to get into a drainage study. So we're under the 625 and our net gain in impervious area 412 square feet. And Brennan might be familiar with this detail. That is a trench drain and it can be a variety of widths and depths. And if you just use Oakwood's calculations, this is what you end up with. To add the 412 impervious feet, you would have to put these lengths or sizes of trench drains on this somewhere in here. Presumably that's going to be back in here somewhere. So the worst case scenario, or the shortest one, is a 3 by 3 by 33 feet long, which is just short if you can find the space for that. If you don't have that kind of width, and I'd like to stay away from any tree roots, you can use one of these longer ones. So this is the photo that got us on track as far as that north wall of the dining room goes. What I'm showing though is this sort of an arrangement with this picture window in the middle, but I'm showing this as a slider, and it can be done this way where it's flanked by narrow double hung windows. I do not show that at all right now. What I'm showing right now is just a single unit slider where these two side windows slide in this way to the center and ventilates at the side. But it can easily, any of those, and these can be casements if you want, casement windows if you wanted. But it's shown as double hungs, but on my drawing so far it's just going to be a slider. And this is kind of how that was. Once I had done a few things, I had made this slider quite a bit wider. Started with 12 feet, which they don't really make that. They will, but they don't. The biggest standard size is 10 feet, and then it drops to 8 feet on these sliders, and that's pretty typical across the manufacturers. And I'm not sure, the other thing I've not got to yet is double checking all of these members and all of the loads coming on this beam. I'm pretty sure it's okay, but I just have to double check all of that before we go. And I had shown this beam coming all the way across here, but because of what's going to happen with this roof out here, and we'll cover that in a minute, that beam's going to have to stop here and we're going to have to do something different in through here, and I haven't really considered that yet, but that'll have to happen. This little wall here that's a 4-inch wall, maybe that can just be a 6-inch wall for no more than that takes. And we'll look at that. Oh, here it is right here with the 4-inch wall and the 6-inch wall. We'll go back here 1 second. One thing to note, I guess, is that this window right here, this 8-foot window, which means your picture unit is essentially 4 feet, and the flanking units are basically 2 feet apiece. That is centered within this space here, within this 14'5" space. This doorway, though, that's offset some. That's not centered on that window. This is the center line of the doorway. This is the center line of the window. And I guess to get those, if you wanted an alignment through there, and this doorway becomes more narrow here with this piece coming up here. And then when I double check all these loads, that might be a consideration in any event. And I'm going to run a couple films at the end of this, walkthroughs here, and I'll just narrate those and explain some of the things that I thought were kind of had to be considered in any event. Going outside though, coming out here and covering a few things, and I may be missing the point entirely. We may be looking at a much lower pitch roof than this, but I just started off with this, and this one actually is shown as a 7/12 roof pitch up here. And so even if it comes down some, we knew that those two windows anyway were going. But I guess it looks to me, and I would kind of, if this were me, I would be trying, once we refine what this roof actually looks like, and you may have a whole different idea where this thing was going to come much lower here. I don't know if we can get it to miss this one in any event, this window here. But depending on what happens over here, I would kind of consider trying to keep some sort of window facing that direction in that room, just for the dimension that it adds to it. If that is possible and I don't know if you're going to be gaining space when you take away some of those, all those walls that are in there with the books and so forth. Once that goes away, maybe this lends itself, because that's going to be a decent view as well. But looking at these roofs, this was that 712, and even if we drop that all the way to 312, we're still, I think that's 312 that I'm showing there. We're still a close call here, but that may actually be what you had in mind. However, if this is a 312 here, I think we're almost into a flat ceiling in that patio space. So I went back up and then I just dropped it to 512, and maybe that's adjusted some so that it just breaks that gutter at the top, and some of that gutter goes this way and some goes this way. If you want, this would be the highest pitch. I don't know that, if you really want something super high out there, and I haven't done any kind of elaboration out there underneath that thing. I've just tried to put together a structure so we have a place to start from. But that's 712, and drop it to 512, and that means if we use a scissor truss, those bottom chords are going to be 312, which will still give you an awful high ceiling. I haven't measured that yet, but it would still be an awful high ceiling. Almost 15 feet, 14.9 from the patio slab. And the way I've established this slab, by the way, is I've come down 3 7.5-inch risers from your finished first floor level, and then I've sloped that patio down 1/4 inch per foot running west. And this is about in the middle, and it's 14.9 to the bottom of those trusses. And this is how it shapes up from here. And really this is pretty quick. Well, I'm going to run those films, those inside films. And what those are is, the first one is just what you have now, and the second one is after I added the kitchen addition, but before I added this. And on those films, I've just put a few things in the kitchen just to have a feel for the space. I've added crown mold to the dining room and this space in here, but those are all be things that you have to consider when you design the kitchen itself. And additionally, we can do all sorts of things with the structure that holds this up here. If this is what happens, we can do a bunch of different things with these columns, whether there's additional brick and caps on those, or any sorts of half wall actions, or extra columns back here going in here. But one of the things I think, does this show this? So this is the leftover from that slab, and I don't know if maybe this just all, your trench drain becomes a couple feet longer, and this just all becomes fresh concrete coming all the way over here, because we had to revamp these too, because this becomes a door here. But offhand, because of all of these, I haven't even gone this far to develop this, because of all these windows that are being lost on this wall and everything that's going back there, I would be really tempted to at least experiment with some sort of a different shape roof, where it would have a pitch on these 3 sides, maybe, I don't know, maybe a roof that's hipped and pitched on the 3 sides, and then a low slope roof on top of that. But in any event, as I said, this would probably at least provide some opportunity for discussion. That's what I ended up doing with this bit here, with this roof here, is just turning this back against the wall. It's a big space. And you can see, even with this high pitched roof, you would be able to actually have this window here. However narrow it is, it still could actually be level with that one, which is really the only acceptable thing. But I don't think there's any opportunities to, I think you'd be into a skylight if you want natural light in that bathroom that's back here. And I don't like having the bathroom with no natural light either. So, but that's it for this film, just enough to let you have things to talk about, and I'll run these other ones and probably talk during those too. Before those films though, Brandon wanted a screen grab of these dimensions, so hopefully this shows them all. This shows the door moving over, and I have held this patio extension so that you can use 18 feet LVLs from the inside of this 6-inch wall to the outside of these 6x6 columns out here. And here are the inside films. This is in here just for comparison purposes, obviously, this existing conditions. And in this kitchen, the only thing really I wanted to point out is these windows. These are shown as 36 inches high, set at the normal window head height of the rest of the windows in your house. And those come down, the next size down is 40 inches, and then it's 44, I believe. So it's just something to think about. Additionally, out in this hallway, we do have the bottom of those stairs coming through there, so that is going to be there. And I think that's it for now. I'm going to run the calculations on all those members again now that I know how the attic's put together, and make sure that we're okay with all those sizes called out so far for the structural members. But that's it for now. Thanks very much.